continue on to paint prep phase. I guess we're gonna try to sand everything down, everything ready for the paint. And I elected sort of completely delete the flasher lights and whatever this sort of placard sign was, destination sign, and rivet some pieces in there because I was just worried about it constantly being a source of water to get in to leak through the gaskets, and I just said I'd take them off. So I riveted them in there, and I tried to wet rivet them, which I put some Marine 5200 in behind there to help keep it secure. But some of the rivets, again, were still leaking in through the center of the rivet. So I took some fiberglass and went over that way, and just doesn't look so good. So I got some Bondo, and I'm gonna fill this and hopefully sand it down and hopefully get an even finish. So we'll see how it goes. I have no idea what I'm doing. We're sanding away. I used 80 grit mostly because I just assumed it would go faster, honestly. That's the only reason I picked it. Dog's playing with sticks. She thinks she's helping. But so I just put it on my Milwaukee orbital sander and got a big chunk of it, but it's hard to get into these pieces. So I'm on these chair rails, which are kind of royal pain. So I'm trying to make them go from this color here down to this color, you know, which it looks brighter, but it's really not. It's just taking kind of probably taking a lot of the dirt off is what it's doing. But I'm trying to get, there's a sheen of a coat on there, so I'm trying to get the coat off and just kind of plugging away at this. It is a tedious process. Okay, got most everything masked now. Running low on masking tape, so this really took 4 rolls. No, well, 3 plus some. I still got a couple of other things to do, but Julie's going to run and get some more masking tape, and I'm going to wiping down the bus one final coat with a rag with acetone, get any last minute dirt and grime off it, and then we'll start spraying. So taking some advice from Mike and Allison over at Harmony Express Skoolie. They just did their bus, looks great, and so it's funny, actually we're going to use this very similar color. Well, some part of it's the same, but I really kind of like the setup and things went out, so we're going to do the same recipe here. I'm going to do the same primer, mix it 4-to-1 with acetone sort of for the gun to smooth it down. End up getting this different Harbor Freight gun. I have another one that I use for all my woodworking stuff, and I decided I'd rather not spray metal paint, I guess, with the same sort of gun that I use my woodworking stuff for. So it was relatively inexpensive, so it seemed like a pretty good investment. So let's mix up some paint and mix up some primer and get going. All right, making progress here, of course. There's no rain in the forecast at all for all weekend, and we got a shower here, so that's going to complicate things a little bit. I don't really have much choice but keep going, I guess. So this is kind of luck I have sometimes. No rain in the forecast at all, and all of a sudden we get the sudden shower out of here. I'm gonna find out how that primer works, I guess. Good grief. Whew, well, I'm tired. But we got everything primed, and actually it dries super fast. Thank God the rain there was a real pain. Then kept dripping down and had to wipe it off and kind of redo it. So took almost a whole gallon of primer. Probably would have took a little bit less if I didn't have to redo so much because of the surprise shower. But yeah, it dries really fast. Like within a half an hour, it's really sort of, you can touch it. I think it says, you know, if you paint it on, it's supposed to take like 4 to 6 hours, something like that. But spraying it on goes pretty quick, and I was able to actually go back and touch up some spots. So won't need a second coat, I don't think. So we'll let that sit overnight, and first thing in the morning I'll sand it down, wash it again, and we'll put on some real paint. Whew. All right, get the next morning. It's a little chilly this morning, and I'm using a sanding block to knock down the primer before I put the final coat of paint on. Interesting debate. I guess it's sort of general practice that you coat of sand down the primer, and it's an interesting, like, how good does it really have to be? And I was like, you want to do a good job, but at the same time, how close to perfect can you really get? You know, if I look at some of the flaws, you know, I need to caulk the windows and seal up, you know, the windows I deleted, and so there's the DM, no, the 3M 5200 adhesive, and that sort of bubbles out, and you go through the process of putting Bondo on all those to make the edges perfect, but then does the Bondo end up cracking, and you're better off just kind of leaving that. But you get these small imperfections all through the bus, so at what point do you really kind of say it's really kind of superfluous, a little unnecessary to do that, because it's not going to be perfect anyway? So I don't know the answer to that question. I'm kind of curious what you know, how do you guys define good enough in your bus? Especially since very few of us, I think, are actually professionals doing this. We're kind of learning as we go. How close can we get perfect? I don't know. Interesting. I don't know if you call it a rant, a philosophical musing perhaps. But so I'm sort of working away at. Anyway, I figured I might as well try to. You know, there's definitely some sort of higher spots or some rougher spots where maybe the gun get a little gummed up and sort of splattered a little bit. So I'm kind of knocking down the high spots, and then I'll rinse it off best as I can. You know, the other thing too is I don't want to rinse too much and trash my newspaper masking. So I'm gonna knock it down. We've got dew dripping everywhere, and actually yesterday, after the rain, I had some spots that I may have to touch up. So and this is my ramblings for this morning. We'll sand away a little bit, rinse, and then hopefully the sun will come up and dry things up and get that final coat of paint on. See here up under the chair rail where we got some water that sort of seeped down in there, created these drips, which I had issues with yesterday after the rain. So I'm gonna take a heat gun and sort of try to warm that all up to try to evaporate all of that water that's sort of seeping down underneath there. Okay, getting ready to mix some paint here, and we're again using so I'm gonna do 4-to-1 of paint and the acetone, and then another part of this hardener, again, which is not really good for you. That's why I'll be wearing my respirator. It seems like a lot to mix, so what I think I might do is mix the whole gallon in a big bucket, and that way I can use my fancy paint mixer, and then leave it in the bucket, and then mix the hardener batch by batch, just because I noticed the more I stop and wait, the more the spray gun gets gummed up. So that's going to be my strategy, I think. All right, so first pattern, I definitely need 2 coats. You can kind of see the striping there when I went across. So now I turn this little knob vertically, and that will give me sort of a horizontal pattern. And this time I'm going to spray up and down so I can kind of cross hatch it and hopefully keep away from, we'll avoid the striping. Christmas present. Gloves over there if you want them.
I considered it and then I didn't do it. I might regret it later, but I need my fingernails. Eat-ola.
Whew, that was quite a project. So I put again 2 coats on there, and then I don't know, it seemed like I had like maybe half of the canisters left, so I sprayed what was left over it, so got, I don't know, really thin 3rd coat, almost 3 coats on it. It was quite a process. It actually took quite a bit longer than I thought it would be, I guess, like everything does. But Julie's stripping away.
Not in a good way.
Well, not in a good way. Well, it's a good way. We're getting away getting the masking off. I'll probably go back and debrief this process in more detail tomorrow when I'm not so tired. I'll be back. Whew, that was a project. I never would have imagined that that painting would be so physically demanding, but I was wiped out those 2 days of doing all this stuff. It was long hours. Went back and I touched up a couple of the spots in the paint, and I put on some of the handles and some of the things that took screws on the sides. For some reason, I had a bunch of insects attracted to the cowling right here in the front, and so I've got bugs in that paint. I have no idea, it was nowhere else. So what I may do is just lightly sand that and put another coat on it sometime in the future. I'm not sure if I'll do it this fall or not. And like I said, it's a little bland right now because the white and that international harvester white, which is sort of an almond. And so we've got some plans with some accents coming up down the road. So again, we may get to it in this fall. If we do, great. We'll film that and get that out to you. And if not, we'll have to wait till the spring. It should be pretty exciting though. So I did like the way the paint came out. Again, it's a beautiful color. Needs some accents for sure, but came out pretty smooth. And again, for never having painted a vehicle before, and my first project being an entire bus, it's kind of hard to complain. So I'd like to definitely give a shout out to the Skoolie community for all your videos and blog posts, and being a great resource. Especially thanks to Mike over Harmony Express. Skoolie just did yours, and so I paid careful attention to yours and followed your advice, so appreciate it. And thanks to everybody out there. It's such a cool community to be part of, so that part was great. So in retrospect, going back and looking at it, took a long time. I would sand, kind of during the wintertime if I was bored or I just needed something to do, or I wanted to do something, wasn't sure what, I'd get the sander out and kind of work on sanding the bus. So we got time to paint. I had most of it done. Had to sort of fine tune some things, but that was several hours, at least on that project. And then I started to mask it on Thursday afternoon, spent 2 hours Thursday afternoon, and then it sort of rained on Friday. Thank God that my newspaper held up through the masking tape held up through the rain, but I didn't do anything Friday. Got up early, about 7 o'clock, started taping on Saturday, got done around noon, and then it probably took me probably 5 hours to paint the primer coat. I had to wrestle around a little bit with the mixture. I know Mike went with a 4:1 ratio, like a 4:1 primer and 1 acetone, and then with the paint actually did 4 of paint, one of acetone and one of the hardener, I found I needed to add a little bit more acetone. The gun kept plugging up on me a little bit if I went a little bit less, so adding like another 2 ounces on top of that seemed to really help the gun go a lot smoother. So I did find that. I went through, so yeah, so Saturday took me, you know, probably 4 or 5 hours to do the bus, and then on Sunday I got sanded it really quick and then washed it off, let things dry, and then took me a little bit less time, maybe 3.5, 4 hours to paint, and probably closer to 4 by the time I was done. You know, I went around 2 solid coats, and then I had a little bit left in the can, so I went and put another light coat on. Why not? And so it was, you know, some pretty long days. One of my bigger challenges, and you may saw this again when the rain, and then with probably biggest the rain, but even kind of hose it down. But water got inside the chair rails, and then I would try to dry it, but you'd be doing stuff and all over, trying to spray up paint, and all of a sudden water would drip down through the chair rails. So that was kind of a frustrating process. So hopefully it's super dry when you guys do it, so I don't have to contend with that. But that was sort of a challenge. I went through almost a gallon of primer, and then I went through a little over a gallon of paint, and I didn't do the roof because I already done that with the Durabrite, but I did, you know, and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 windows deleted, so that took a little bit extra paint to go there too. But I would plan on, you know, at least a couple gallons of paint if you're doing a full-size bus. Whew. So I guess that's it for now. Again, I'll do some accents and stuff later on down the road, and I'm not sure what I'm not sure what the next project will be. So if you've got any ideas or suggestions what you think I should do, throw them out there and we'll see how it goes. But again, appreciate you watching. Appreciate you guys out there making your videos, because it's a great resource for me. But again, a great community to be. I'm really happy to be part of it. So like, subscribe, do those things you do. Certainly appreciate the support. And until next time, I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.